Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today I'd like to discuss some other strategies that you can improve your sleep. I'll give you two more strategies that are very useful for sleep health, and they include having a consistent routine and also improving your gut health, and we'll look at that today. And so I already gave you three strategies, right? Knowing the value of sleep, getting sunlight in the morning, reducing or avoiding screens before the bed, like an hour and a half before bedtime, and having a caffeine curfew, and being cool before bed, right? Keeping your temperature low. Sorry, that was not three, but five strategies, right? So today we'll talk about two more. And the sixth strategy is going to bed at the right time and being sleepy or sleeping at the money time, which is between 10 and 2 p.m. And so let me talk a little bit about that. So Kulreet Chaudhary, which is a renowned neurologist, noted that the time when you sleep is the most important, and you may not be well rested even if you get 8 hours of sleep. So it's not only the amount, but it's also when you sleep. It turns out that the most regenerative sleep occurs between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And so you definitely don't, and so you want to make sure that you're sleeping during most of this interval to ensure that you're getting well rested. This is like the money time. That's when you want to be at bed. That's not when you want to be watching Netflix or doing something else. That's when you want to be sleeping. That's when you can feel your best during the day. That's when you get the most healing and rejuvenation. So sleep is crucial. And that's when you make things like human growth hormone that keeps you young. And in fact, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified nighttime work as a group 2A carcinogen. So the international agency the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified nighttime work as a group 2A carcinogen. So that shows how missing these hours can actually cause problems like cancer even. And during deep sleep, that's when you make human growth hormone and all the amazing hormone that cause healing and regeneration. So sleep is crucial, and you want to get a good amount of sleep and a good amount of deep sleep, which is the high quality sleep. Now, the Journal of the Federation of American Societies for Experimental Biology showed that melatonin actually has antiestrogenic effects. We know that breast cancer, as well as uterine and fibroid cancer, is actually linked to high levels of estrogen, both in women but also in men. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're not getting that you're having anti-estrogenic effects by the production of melatonin. So melatonin is a crucial hormone that actually keeps you young, and as you get older you have less and less of it, and it can also have anti-cancer properties. And a study in the International Journal of Cancer actually showed that overnight shift workers had a 30% higher incidence in breast cancer. And now you know why that's the case, because if you're working night shifts, then you're messing with your melatonin production, which is so crucial for prevention of breast cancer. The Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine showed that just one night of poor sleep makes people as insulin resistant as if they have type 2 diabetes. And the University of BC researchers also showed that nighttime shift work can literally double your risk of a workplace injury. And this is based on 30,000 people over the course of 10 years. So this is like a longitudinal study, a 10-year study that's very trustable type of study that shows that yes, poor sleep is linked to more injuries at work. And all of this. And now you know why doctors actually have a shorter lifespan by as much as a decade in some regions, because they're literally getting less sleep and they're not sleeping at the right money time, which is crucial for the prevention of cancer and a huge amount of chronic disease. And the Workplace Health and Safety Journal showed that police officers has a 14 time more likely to be sleep deprived because they're working during the night, and they're messing up with their melatonin production and all that, and they have higher metabolic syndrome they can cause higher body fat, triglycerides, and blood pressure, and they have higher sugar levels as well. So they're more likely to get metabolic disorders like diabetes, for example, because they're 14 times more likely to be sleep deprived than other individuals. During sleep, your body actually undergoes 4 to 6 sleep cycles, each being around 90 minutes. So that's like around an hour and a half. And you feel more refreshed when you wake up at the end of sleep than at the end of a sleep cycle than in the middle of a sleep cycle. So 5 cycles of 90 minutes each is around 7.5 hours. So you can go to bed at 10 and you wake up at around 5:30, and that gives you 7.5 hours. What I like to do, since it takes the average person around 10 to 20, let's say 15 minutes to fall asleep, right? If you want to fall asleep at 10:30, you go to bed at 10:15, you fall asleep at 10:30, and then you count 5 cycles from there. So add 7.5 hours to 10:30 to determine what time you wake up. And then you're going to wake up right at the end of the cycle and feel more refreshed, rather than waking up right in the middle of the sleep cycle and feeling like a zombie. So this is something you can do. But you don't have to do 7.5 hours or 5 cycles. You can do 4 cycles, which is 6 hours of sleep. Or if you need more sleep, you can do 6 cycles, and then you're sleeping for 9 hours. But if you sleep 8 hours, like what is recommended, you're actually setting yourself up for failure, because you're gonna wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. And that's why that recommendation, that 8 hours sleep is good, is complete bullshit. And please ignore that recommendation. Complete bullshit and nonsense. And there's absolutely zero science to back this up, right? In fact, it's way better to feel more refreshed to get 7.5 hours of sleep than 8. You're going to feel way better because you're waking up right at the end of the sleep cycle. And we know a sleep cycle on average is 90 minutes in length. So what you can do here, I wouldn't recommend going for 6 cycles, because I think 9 hours of sleep is way too much. So do it if you absolutely need it. But I like 5 cycles of 7.5 hours. In fact, the research on longevity showed that people who sleep like a bit less than 8 hours live the longest. So people who sleep around 7 hours, 6.5 to 7 hours, or like just below 8 hours, do better. In fact, if you can do better on less sleep, that means that your body's functioning better. So you don't need to sleep a very long time to get the benefits, right? That indicates that your body functions better. And if you have a consistent routine of getting that 7.5 hours of sleep every day, over time you're going to get used to it, and your body's going to not need so much sleep, right? And so my point being is, avoid oversleeping, but also avoid waking up in the middle of a sleep cycle. So have a consistent routine and make sure that you're getting a whole number of cycles every night. So that can be like from 10:30, and then you count 5 cycles. So that will be 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6. So sleeping from 10:30 to 6 is great, right? And again, to fall asleep at 10:30, that means you have to be in bed with your lights closed, eyes shut at 10:15, because it takes around 15 minutes to fall asleep for the average person, or 10 to 20 minutes, right? Whatever. Don't worry about exactly waking up at the end of the cycle. Even if it's within 5-10 minutes, it's okay. You're still gonna feel much more refreshed than waking up right in the middle of a cycle. So plus minus, a little bit is not a big issue. But over time, with repeated practice, your sleep quality is gonna improve and improve and improve. The next strategy, so this one is to go to bed at the right time and be sleeping at the money time. So you wanna fall asleep between 10. So you want to fall asleep as close as possible to around 10 p.m. So 10, 10:30, 11, all that's good, because you're getting that money sleep between 10 to 2. And then you want to count around 5 cycles from there to determine your wake-up time. Okay? And you want to be consistent every single day, even on weekends. Yes, I know. And strategy number 7 is to fix your gut. Now, we actually live in symbiosis with our bacteria, and a journal Cell showed, right, so there's a very famous journal, it's called The Cell, and it showed that poor sleep or a jet lag can actually influence the balance and shift towards bacteria that can lead to obesity and diabetes. So we know that having a good bacterial flora is crucial for sleep. And also, depending on the type of bacteria that you can have, you can increase your risk for getting all sorts of conditions. The gut actually makes 400 times more melatonin than your pineal gland in the brain. And so optimizing gut health is actually as important as doing all the other things that I talked about previously and we'll talk about in the future. UCLA researchers found that 90% of fibers of the vagus nerve, which is crucial for the parasympathetic nervous system, which we'll talk about later, or the rest and digest, actually carry information from the gut to the brain, not vice versa, from the gut to the brain. And there's actually trillions of bacteria that communicate with the enteric nervous system, which is literally like your second brain. And researchers at Caltech reported that some bacteria makes serotonin as well, and serotonin, as we saw, gets converted to melatonin. So a lot of your sleep hormones actually get made in the gut, and the gut is what sends your parasympathetic information to your brain. You literally have another nervous system in your gut, so it's very important. Some things that just completely cause havoc in your gut are things like chemicals, processed foods, overuse of antibiotics, non-organic foods of pesticides, herbicides, etc. And drinking chlorinated water is also not a good idea because chlorine can also mess up your gut. Sarah Gutfield showed that diet soda is even worse than regular soda and can wreck your metabolism by causing havoc to your gut bacteria. So definitely you want to eat organic and clean and whole foods, and that's probably the best idea, because your body evolved to extract nutrients from real foods, from real whole foods, rather than other foods that are processed, etc. So you definitely want to make sure you're getting the right nutrients for your gut. And I'll just give you a whole list of things to think about. Things like selenium was linked to sleep abnormalities. You want to make sure you get the right levels. And things like Brazil nuts is a great source, for example. And it's needed for immune and thyroid functioning as well, right? Things like vitamin C prevents awakening in the night. Tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin, so you want to consume foods with that. Things like potassium, things like calcium. The Journal of European Neurology showed that calcium deficiency can lead to poor REM sleep, so that's important, which is important for mental rejuvenation and memory processing and all that, and cognitive function. Vitamin D, the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine showed that there's a link between low vitamin D levels and daytime sleepiness, and the best source of vitamin D is sunlight. Things like omega-3, University of Oxford study showed that it's linked to deeper sleep, so make sure you get your fish oil, maybe, or to get your omega-3, salmon or fish, right? Things like melatonin is important for sleep, of course. I wouldn't recommend the melatonin supplement. I'll talk about why later, but just natural sources that can stimulate melatonin production, like things like walnuts, tart cherry juice, and you can do like a Google search for all of those. There's so much options there. Things like vitamin B6, which is important for reducing stress and relaxing the nervous system, as well as things like probiotics and prebiotics, which are good for the gut flora to thrive, right? An example of a probiotic is something that contains live cultures of bacteria, like kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles, or even a probiotic supplement. And prebiotics help these bacteria grow. Many things have prebiotics, right? Dark green leafy vegetables, sweet potatoes. There's just so much of them. Even things like cacao. So you can do a whole search and find a bunch of them. But another key mineral is magnesium. And magnesium is so important. It has so much functions in your body, and it relaxes tense muscles and reduces pain, and is responsible for over 300 enzyme reactions in the body. And it's required for just a whole slew and plethora of cellular functions, like the production of energy, the formation of cell membranes in the body, just so many cellular functions, enzymatic reactions. It's just such an important mineral, and it helps your body relax before bed as well. And yet 80% of Americans are deficient. And James Penland from the Human Nutrition Research Center in North Dakota showed that a diet high in magnesium leads to uninterrupted sleep, deep sleep actually. So it can improve your deep sleep and give you high quality sleep as well. And the Journal of Intensive Care Medicine showed that those deficient in magnesium are twice more likely to die prematurely. So if you don't want to clock out before your time, taking magnesium is also a very good supplement because it reduces premature death and has been shown to do so, because it's just magnesium, and you can see why, because magnesium is so important for all of these reactions in your body. It's like a super mineral. You can think of it this way. So you can get a high quality magnesium supplement, and this is one of those things that I recommend supplementation. The other things you can get from foods. Maybe you want to get a high quality omega-3 supplement if you don't eat fish. Maybe you want to get a good high quality vitamin D supplement if you don't get enough sunlight. D3 is the best, by the way. Maybe you want to get, other supplements if you're not getting enough of them. But you can go real foods of most of these. Magnesium, most are deficient anyways, even from the food. And so a high magnesium rich diet, high in things like dark green leafy vegetables, even cacao and dark chocolate. There's just so many foods that are high in magnesium, but it's still a good idea to supplement. And unfortunately, a lot of supplements are not absorbed directly. So you can take a pill if you want, but the best way is to use a transdermal topical approach. And I use Ease Magnesium, and that's what Sean Stevenson recommends in his book. And you can literally spray your body, do like 3 to 4 sprays of tense sore areas like the shoulders, the chest, the back of the knees, on your feet, and just you can rub it after you've sprayed before bed. It's just such a good idea. Or even on painful and sore areas. And I like Epsom salt baths as well, another great way to reduce stress during the day, which has this magnesium, which has a type of magnesium called magnesium sulfate, and that's another way to relax, again, transdermally. But you can also take a pill and eat a diet high in magnesium. It's just we're so deficient that I think a supplement, like a transdermal supplement, like Ease Magnesium or other like sprays that you can rub through the skin, a high absorbable quality transdermal magnesium spray is definitely a good way to go, combined with a magnesium-rich diet, because this is such an important mineral and most people are deficient, and yet it's responsible for 300 enzymatic reactions in our body. So take magnesium and definitely improve your gut flora by taking probiotics, as well as in eating foods that are prebiotics, sweet potatoes, Jerusalem artichokes, dandelion greens. There's so much of them. You can do a whole Google search, right? Cassava, whatever. And also, make sure that you're getting the right nutrients that I described. All of these nutrients will help you get better sleep and are very important for your gut, right? Like selenium, vitamin C, tryptophan, potassium, vitamin D, omega-3s, eating foods before bed that can maybe stimulate melatonin production, get vitamin Bs, especially if you're a vegetarian, and probiotics and prebiotics, as I already mentioned. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your gut and get better sleep as a result as well.